بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده. Assalamu alaikum to all students. Inshallah, we'll be commencing on the fifth session on the Tahara series. It has had to go over 4 sessions due to the content. Okay, so we'll begin this chapter, and this is a chapter on the rulings of su'ar or su'ru or sur. Okay, there are different pronunciations are found for this word alone, but now I'm going to stick to the word which I read in the dictionary is su'ru. In the Kitab Kuduri, you'll find a different spelling for the same word, which is written without that hamza. Okay, so what is su'ru? Su'ru is that little bit of water which is left over when a human or an animal has drunk from it. So an example would be that you have a bowl or a container in your home or somewhere, and you've left it, and an animal like a cat or a dog or a bird or even a guard dog for that matter has come and drunk from that water, and there's still water remaining. Okay, what is the ruling for that water? Okay, there are four categories, There are 4 categories in which that water is divided into. The first is tahirun mutahirun. And tahirun means that it in itself is clean and pure, and it has the ability to make other objects clean and pure. And tahirun mutahirun is that water from which a human being has drunk from it. It is the same whether it is a man or a lady, a Muslim or a non-Muslim, whether that person or that individual is in the state of purity or they are in the state of janabat, meaning that they need a farad ghusl. Okay, under the condition that when it is known that there is no impurity in the mouth of the person who has drunk from it. Okay, so an example would be that you're traveling and you have a companion. The companion may be a non-Muslim, they may have ate some pork or bacon or something haram, and then they drink from a bottle and they hand you the bottle to drink from. In that instance, it would not be allowed to drink that water. But if, for example, that person has been traveling with you and you know that they have not ate anything haram, okay, and they drink from a bottle of water, it is permissible to drink that water. Some scholars would base their own individual actions on God-fearingness, on taqwa. So that if a lady has drunk from a glass or a bottle or a bowl, etc., they will not drink that water, simply to show honor and respect to the female and to possibly safeguard themselves. Some men do not like to drink from a bottle or from a lady simply because they don't like the lipstick. As strange as it may sound, there have been incidences where the husband might not drink from the cup of his wife because he doesn't like the lipstick mark or the lipstick chemicals. It's a possibility. If we bring our attention to the footnote over here, okay, it is disliked to drink the water of a lady who is a stranger, okay, the leftover water, which does not is nothing to do with the purity, but it is on what's known as istilzaz. Istilzaz means to gain ladhat from, to gain sweetness from, or to gain a bit of desire from. Okay, I won't say more on that. Now here, وَكَذَلِكَ مَا شُرِبَ مِنْهُ, like in the same way, if a horse or an animal whose meat can be ate, the meat of that animal is halal, like a camel or a cow or sheep. Okay, so those animals, a horse, generally we do not eat horses because of the respect and honor a horse has. Or animals whose meat is halal to eat, if those animals drink from water, that water has the same ruling, that it will be tahiru mutahirun, with the condition applied. Most of these animals, these three animals, are herbivores. Okay, they do not generally eat meat. Okay, if in this day and age there was a case a few years ago where the cows which had died, the farmers were drying those cows, they were grinding them to dust, and they were feeding to other cows, and that led to many diseases and illnesses. In that instance, again, the water should be avoided because that illness has a possibility of transferring onto humans. So that goes into the category of caution. Number 2, su'rul najis, that the leftover water is impure. It is that water in which a dog or a pig, a swine, has drunk from, or animal which is a hunter. Siba'ul Bahaim, the beasts of prey, the animals of prey, the animals which are hunters, that hunt other animals. Means animals which are hunters, which are carnivorous animals. They hunt other animals, or they're scavengers and they eat other animals. They are the devourers of flesh, such as a lion, or a tiger, or a wolf, or a monkey, or a fox, or an elephant, because the saliva of such animals is impure. Okay, monkeys can eat meat, an elephant can eat impurities also, though they generally do not. Number 3, Tahirun Makruh, that the water itself is pure, but to use it after that is disliked. وَهُوَ مَا شَرِبَتْ مِنْهُ الْهِرَّةِ, it is that water which a cat has drunk from, or a kitten has drunk from, or any other type of feline which is domestic, or animals such as a rooster or a hen which is wild, which roams around freely. Okay, that it has the possibility that it has ate something which is najis, some other forms of najasat it has devoured. In the same way, a cow or sheep, لو كان لا يأكل إلا نجاسة, that they do not eat anything other than impurities. So even though these animals, the last two animals mentioned, it is halal to eat their meat, if they are just eating general impurities, then it is makruh. It is not haram, but it is makruh to use the leftover water of those animals. And it is also makruh to use the water for wuzu of those animals, because there is no knowledge on the state of the mouth of those animals, what they had ate. And further down, it gives you more examples. In the same way, in the leftover water of birds which have claws, such as a hawk, or a kite, or a falcon. A shaheen is actually an Indian falcon. These birds, eagles, falcons, they eat other living things. They are carnivorous in nature, and they also have claws and a sharp beak to tear the meat apart. So if such birds have drank from water, then the usage of that water is makruh. Okay, the next example is in the same way the leftover water of animals which live in the house, such as mice or snakes or toads. I don't know if any of you will have any of these animals living in the home other than mice and rats, but snakes and toads, if they're living in your home, you're quite unfortunate. If these animals drunk from water, then it is in the same ruling as the above. So all of these animals, the leftover water is in itself pure, but the usage of which is makruh, and it is makruh tanzihi. I'm not going to go into detail what makruh tanzihi means, because this has already come before in previous lessons. If you're still unsure about what it means, please contact us on the website. It says here that if you do not find any other water other than the water which is being drunk from by the above mentioned animals, then it is permissible to use it without any karahat. And the fourth category of water which is left over from a human or an animal is the leftover water is pure, is tahir, but the purity of it is mashkuk, in that whether it can make other things pure. Okay, mashkuk means there is doubt whether that pure water can make other things pure. They can be used to wash other things, and that other object will be clean or not. And it is that leftover water of a mule or a donkey. فَلَا يَتَوَضَّأُ بِهِ, and the person should not perform a wudhu with it. And when he does not find any other water, then he should perform tayammum. He should perform wudhu with it, and he should perform tayammum also as a precaution. Obviously, first he will perform the tayammum, and then he will use the leftover water of that animal. Simply because that if he performs wudhu alone, that water is not to the category that it can be used for wudhu. His wudhu is invalid. And so as a precaution, if he performs tayammum first, and then he uses the water itself is clean. It will not make him impure, but it will not make him pure. That's the difference. And he gives you a very interesting footnote, a very interesting text here. The sweat or the saliva is in the same ruling as the leftover water. This is extremely useful if you are traveling on an animal, or the saliva animal accidentally falls onto you. It is in the same ruling as the leftover water. So animals which their leftover water is pure, the sweat and the saliva are in the same ruling, are both pure. And those animals whose leftover water is najis, the sweat and the saliva is in the same ruling. The next chapter, it deals with how to purify a well, tadhirul bi'ri, purification of a well. When an impure object, when something, a form of najasat has fallen into the well. Now many of us who live in developed countries may find this irrelevant, and you might want to think, okay, I'm turning the lesson off now, I don't need to know this, I'll never ever use this knowledge. What I always say to students, whether I'm teaching them Islamic sciences or whether I'm teaching them chemistry or biology or any of the other sciences, and I'm faced with this dilemma where the student says, I don't need to know that, I will never use that knowledge, it's irrelevant to me. My answer to all of you and everybody is that every bit of knowledge is important and is and can and will be useful. One quick example I will give you is that everything we have learned in these sessions, that time and the efforts we have put into it, even the laptop we have used for halal and for learning, it will be weighed on the scale of good deeds. Okay? And the pens and pencils we use, though all of that will be weighed on the scale of good deeds. Secondly, whether or not we are going to use that knowledge or we are going to practice upon that knowledge, we have used the intellect Allah has given us in a halal and permissible manner. We have not wasted our time. So this chapter here, you never know when you may need this knowledge, and if you never need to act upon this knowledge which we will gain, it doesn't matter because it has come in handy, and you will see the light of that knowledge on Qiyamah. Inshallah, and that will not go to waste. So, on this chapter, إذا وقعت في البئر, when an impure object has fallen into the well, and even if it is less in quantity, the well has become impure. It has made the well and the water inside the well impure, and it is compulsory, wajib, to extract all of the water which is inside, and in this manner it will be purified, meaning the well will be purified from that. So if an animal dies inside the well, the method of purifying the well is as follows. If an animal has died in the well and it has swollen up, the body swelled up due to the intake of water, or it exploded. Tafassaqa means the body turned into small pieces, meaning the body exploded due to the intake of excess water. Tanajjasat, the entire well has become impure, and it is compulsory to extract all of the water therein. It is the same whether the animal was small, such as a mouse or a rat, or whether the animal was large. Okay? Due to the spreading of the impurity in the well. So inside the well you'll have all of the internal organs of the animal everywhere, whether it's a rat or a mouse, a small animal, or a large animal, like a lion or a horse. The well has become impure. However, if the animal which has died in the well did not swell up, okay, and it did not explode, and its internal organs are not scattered around the well, then the well has become impure. But the manner in which the purity or purifying of the well will take place or is different, meaning that ila ikhraji jami' al-ma, that should all of the water in the well be extracted or not, because the animal, the impurities inside the animal did not spread all over the well, the body was extracted as a whole. So in that there is further explanation. Okay, so just to summarize, a person somewhere goes up to the well, the village well, or the well they have in the back garden, and you look inside and there's a dead rat there. Okay, it's still as a whole, the whole body is there, and he takes a bucket or a fishing net and he takes the dead rat out. Now, is that water pure or not? It's impure. But should all of that water be extracted to make the well pure again for human use or not? That's what is being explained here. لو مات فيها إنسان, that if a human being or a dog or a sheep or anything which resembles these animals in the body mass, okay, it has died inside the well, it is wajib to extract all of the water. Okay, anything similar to the body mass of a human being, a dog or a sheep, or anything or any other animal that resembles these animals, it is compulsory. Now if you pay attention, if you look over here, a human being is an omnivore, a dog is generally a carnivore, and a sheep is generally a herbivore. Okay, so it's not taken into consideration the nature or the temperament of what the animals eat or the human being eats, It is taken into consideration the body mass and the size of the animal. Okay, because all of the living animals mentioned here contain blood, flowing blood. Okay, and that has a possibility of oozing out of the body after it has died due to the internal organs not working. Number 2, وَلَوْ مَاتَ فِيهَا حَيْوَانٌ, that if an animal has died inside the well, which is similar or which is like a hen or a rooster or a kitten or a cat or a dove or a pigeon, then indeed it is sufficient to extract 40 buckets, which is of medium size, to purify the well. Okay, what does the size of the bucket mean? It means the bucket which is generally used for that well to extract water. You take out 40 buckets of water from that well. It doesn't have to be in one go. You can take out 10 in the morning, 20 in the evening, and 10 at night. You take out 40 buckets of water. Inshallah, that well, the water within the well is okay to be used. Number 3, إذا مات في حيوان, if an animal has died inside the well, which is similar in size to a bird or a sparrow or a rat, then indeed it is sufficient to extract 20 buckets of water to make the well pure. And there's some additional points mentioned here. To extract the water, it will take into consideration the extracting of the impurity. Okay, إخراج الماء يعتبر بعد إخراج النجاسة. The extraction of the water is considered after the extraction of the impurity. And if all of the water has been extracted, has been taken out with the presence of impurity, then the well is still not pure. وإذا أخرج, now, and when the designated quantity has been extracted, the wajib quantity has been extracted, after the impurity has been taken out, the well and the walls surrounding the well are clean and pure. Okay, so there is no additional need to clean the walls of the well once the required amount of water has been taken out. Okay, and moving on to the next point. The كانت البئر معينة, that when the well is such that there is free flowing water underneath it, meaning that there is underground river or underground reservoir, large reservoir, and the well, it connects to this reserve of water. And it is difficult to take out all of the water, because if you take out, say, 60 buckets of water, then there's still additional water which will keep flowing in place of that. So the ruling for this is that, well, here it says that if you take out water, new water will keep gushing in its place. Then the way to purify this is that you take out or you extract the required quantity of water. Okay, and then after that quantity has been extracted, the well is deemed to be pure. Okay, even though the water is still gushing forth, and it will seem as though the level of water has not decreased. Okay. So the ruling for the well which has become impure will be given from the time when the najasat, the impurity, fell into the well. So the wudhu and the ghusl, or any object which has been washed with the water of that well, will have to be repeated. Okay, if that water has been used after the well became impure. What that means is, let's use an analogy that if in the morning at 7 o'clock an impurity or an animal or something fell into the well and died, and then for the remainder of the day people, they perform the wuzu with it, they wash their utensils with it, and they use the water for other things, and then in the evening at, say, 6 o'clock p.m. it was discovered that there is an impurity in the well, and the time was in the morning, and everything that was washed with that water will have to be re-washed, and any wudhu and ablution which was performed with that water will have to be repeated again. Okay, and any salah which was done after ablution had been performed with that impure water will have to be repeated also. Okay, قد يموت الحيوان في البئر ولا يدري متى وقع فما الحكم. Indeed, an animal has fallen into the well, and it is not known when it fell in. What is the ruling for that? But when the animal has not bloated up and it has not exploded due to the intake of water into the body, into the corpse after it has fallen into a well, then the ruling for such a well is that for 1 day and one night only. So if an impurity of a dead animal, etc., has been found inside the well, and a time scale cannot be established or when that animal or impurity fell into the well, then a time limit will be given for 1 day and one night previous to that, or when the impurity was found. And the salawat for 1 day and one night will be repeated if the wudhu was performed from that well, and the objects which were washed by usage of that water will also be re-washed again, okay, within that time period. So just to explain that, if, say, for example, at 12 o'clock in the night, or let's say 1 o'clock in the middle of the day, and a dead rat is found inside the well, and it has not swollen, or it has not bloated, and it has not exploded, is still in its form, but a time scale cannot be established of when that rat fell into the well. And from the time the rat was discovered, you do go back 1 day and one night and establish a time period from that. So for example, if at 1 p.m. during the day it is discovered that there is a dead rat inside of the well, and it has not bloated up, it has not swollen up, it has not exploded, but a exact time period cannot be established of when the rat fell into the well, then what will happen is that you will count back at least 24 hours, 1 day and one night, from the point on which you discovered the rat inside the well. So from 1 p.m. if the rat was discovered to 1 p.m. of the previous day, and any wudhu and salat or anything which has been washed with that water will have to be repeated again. So the salawat will have to be repeated again for that day and night. Items washed with the water will have to be re-washed again due for this time period. Now if, however, the animal has been discovered and it has bloated up, it has swollen up, okay, and a time period cannot be established of when this occurred, then you will count back to 3 days and 3 nights from the point at which the animal was discovered, and everything from that point will have to be repeated, the salawat, the wudhu, etc., which was performed from water from that well. And the final chapter for this is that the well is not made impure in the following situations. Okay. إذا وقع فيها قليل من البعر والروث والكث، فإن كانت كثيرة بألا يخلو دلو عن بعرة فإنها تنجس or تنجس. But when only a small amount of animal droppings or dung, or cow dung, has fallen into a well, and it is only small in amount, the well will not be deemed as impure. But if it is abundant in quantity, so much so that if one bucket was taken out, and the water was not empty of any droppings or dung or any impurities from the waste of an animal, and in every bucket it was the same, that there was waste of the animal inside of the bucket, then indeed the well is impure. The footnote explains this in a little bit more detail. Al-Bakr is the waste of a sheep, a gazelle, or a camel. Roth is the waste of a horse, a donkey, or a mule. Kithi is the waste of a cow or a buffalo. Okay? Now, coming back to the text, in the same manner, the well will not be deemed, the water of the well will not be deemed impure if the droppings of a bird of prey has fallen into it. Okay? Number 2, when something pure or clean has fallen into the well, or the leftover things of something which is pure, like the droppings of a dove or a bird, a sparrow, if that falls into the well will not be deemed as impure. إذا ماتت فيها الحيوانات, that if an animal has died inside the water